Good afternoon. I'm extremely happy to be here marking the final day of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. And I've been requested to talk on a particular topic. I'll try to make it as simple as it can be, although the topic says harnessing the potential of diaspora entrepreneurs towards an inclusive approach to nation building. So essentially, harnessing your potential in making sure that India has an inclusive growth, and that growth leads to a nation building, a nation which is reaching 100 years of independent India in the next 25 years. So, first let us recognize that India today is very aspirational. There was a time between 47 and let us say 1990s when India thought it's our destiny to be slow in our growth. We will go slow, but we'll have to now toil to match up with the world's expectations, and so on. But post-1991, we opened ourselves at least somewhat to the globe. And when we opened ourselves, we saw many more talents coming into India, investments coming into India, and expectations that we should match the world standards in very many issues, be it in the products that you produce, be it in the processes that you have, be it in the way in which decision makings will have to happen. So I'm playing on this word global standard. Even as in 1991 we were trying to become opened, bring in the world, and we also produce and serve the world. But that, even as it started where we were expecting to match up with global standards, kept changing, and today I'm happy to say, and I'm sure many of you already recognize, that on very many scores, we are setting the standards. So where were we in 1991 and where are we today will show that the movement from a reconciled position of, there is a certain limitation to the extent that we can grow. There's a certain limitation about the level of technology that we can use. There's a limitation about the resources that we can have and demand services. From then to today, because of the aspirational engine that is operating from among us, the way in which we've progressed is far speedier and also setting standards. So it's an aspirational India which is looking at participating in the world move forward, but in the recent last 2 years we've had the challenges posed by the COVID. But however, recognizing that you're 32 million Indians abroad, many of whom still carry your Indian passports, but many of whom, whether you carry the passport or not, are looked up to as the model community, that model community, that exemplar community, which lives subsuming itself into the newer society into which you've been living for some generations, some of you for generations and some of you for decades. But you subsumed yourself, you absorbed the local culture and you're living there well and contributing to the economy there. At the same time, you've not forgotten the Indian roots that you have, and therefore people who look at you as exemplar communities who contribute very well, who live in a law-abiding way, and above all, also maintain your original land of origin contacts. So you've been very a community which has made India very proud. You're 32 million in numbers, not small at all. If the world's largest diaspora that you are, you're also making significant contribution towards India's own development. And that is where holding Pravasi Bharatiya Divas or Pravasi Bharatiya Meet is of very important significance for India to stay connected with you who are all over the world today. And I think there's no part of the world where there isn't an Indian community which is vibrant and active. So if that is the way in which today's realities are, and India surely strives to keep that touch with you, connect with you, and you love to keep in touch with your own homeland, it is natural, it's only natural, therefore, Honorable Prime Minister sees you all as the real ambassador for India. You are the ones who speak for India, represent India, carry the Indian brand forward, and it is you who build an image about India, that you're hardworking, you're law-abiding, that you contribute to the societies in which you live, and above all, set standards for ways in which an immigrant community can go and contribute to any one country without causing any disruptions or wrong, let's say, ruptures in the society. So the real ambassadors are before me, and I'm very happy to address you because the way in which Honorable Prime Minister has been speaking about the next 25 years as Amrit Kal, you know the word Amrit. There cannot be a better word of saying what it's going to be. It's the time when it's going to be nectar-like for every one of us to energize ourselves from the nectar and equally joyfully enjoy that taste, that spirit, that sense that we're going through a good period. So if you, the real ambassadors, are before me and we are talking one-on-one and also to a group, and I'll also be further engaging with a certain group of diaspora from among you to whom I'll have a lot more informal interactions. So within India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi repeatedly says anything that we do, any policy that we make, any action that follows, and also the execution, keeping an alert, a watch on the administration, all that is enabled by Jan Bhagidari, meaning by people's participation. So if Jan Bhagidari is the one which is going to play a very big role in keeping the administration alert, nimble, and also to deliver, I think Jan Bhagidari also has a component of the real ambassadors who are before me. Your Bhagidari, your participation is very important in India's next 25 years. So, even as he talks about Jan Bhagidari, the role of government is not in silos. The government functions as one. Whole of government approach is taken. It's not as if one minister can say, no, that belongs to whatever department, or this one belongs to rural development. All of us put our ideas together and work together in such a way that government's decision is one whole decision, and it comes with everybody's input. Each of us take our responsibility, and the delivery, therefore, is of this government. Then in the collective effort, therefore, the participation of the Indian diaspora will also have to find its own channels so that you come in to give us inputs on the way in which policy has to be made. You come in to say how it's being affected in the ground, and further also to tell us whether it is helping you to have greater connect and integration or not. So in a way, it means we expect, and you also would want to feel, that next 25 years, if India has to have a wholesome growth, it needs Indianness everywhere. It also has to have greater standards brought into India's administration. So in a way, you are playing the role of the real ambassadors. It means you're going to promote India, promote Indian brand, And for that brand to be promote-worthy, you're going to give us the inputs to say, please do this, please don't do this, so that the brand actually becomes a valuable brand and that you will be very happy to promote. And in the process of also using the brand, you will also, where possible, make sure use India-produced goods and services. Where possible, you will look up to or look around to make sure that you get the India products, India services, so that even as you promote Indian brand, you're also seen around possessing, using, and dispensing India-made goods and services. Even better, to serve the topic that I'm talking about, the harnessing of the potential of Indian diaspora entrepreneurs, particularly women, and for the purpose of an inclusive development in nation building. The next point that I would like to tell you or put forward for your consideration is, even as you promote the Indian brand India, even as you surround yourselves with India-made goods and services, I would invite you to partner with Indian businesses, small, medium, big, nano, partner with them, so that India in the next 25 years gets your potential for the entrepreneurial skills that you may have. So Indian businesses here get that advantage from you, and together we build that India which can be developed by 2047. For this, you really don't have to search around as to how you do this, how would you achieve that. Yes, we will buy Indian goods and services, yes, we'll promote brand India, but how do we at all partner Indian businesses? Simple things which I put forward before you. Large businesses, of course, search for their partners and get it because of the sectoral specializations that they have. But today, the way in which Prime Minister has promoted India in every bit of it, by taking up, for example, one particular thing that I put before you. Prime Minister actually suggested that India doesn't have to look at what products it produces, one thing which is big, one thing which is known, but every district in India has one or the other product which is unique in its own case and which is sought after for some special qualities it has. It can be a natural produce like basmati rice, but it can also be handicraft products like very many of you are familiar, whether it is the Banarsi silk, whether it is the Kanchivaram silk, whether it is the Mysore silk, or whether it is handicrafts, the bronze work of Moradabad, or the bronze again from south, which comes with beautiful iconography, or whether you're looking at spice-based products. So every district today has been identified for that one unique product which it has. So both the central government and state government are working together. You have one district, one product identified for active promotion of exports of that particular product. Now, there are several participatory roles which I can envisage for the Indian diaspora. You can look at coming and giving them technology that is required. You can look at how handmade products can be promoted by better packaging. And you can identify the local area in which you live, whether they would want to buy more of it. I'll give you the example. I visited Nagaland. They do wonderful bamboo-based materials. They're also very good at weaving, hand weaving of materials. And when I went there, probably in October, they were making wonderful Christmas tree decorations, also tableware, the runners and placemats and everything of such quality. And they were selling it or exporting it to countries which wanted them in bulk for their Christmas celebrations. Similar was the way in which some handmade knitted products from South You know, machine-made knitted products are finding bulk markets, but unique market products which are handmade are also finding. So you would probably have more acquaintance with the districts from where you have gone abroad to identify those products and be of some contribution to help them to see how they can improve, how their packings can be better done, and how they can find markets and so on. Similarly, I also want to talk about how low cost and very affordable technologies emerge from India. Be it the mission, the spacecrafts that we make, they are, in fact, some of them very catchily told me once that the cost of the Chandrayaan, which goes to the moon, is far lesser than a Hollywood film. So if that is the way you were to look at it, we are producing goods, innovative goods, frontier technology goods at a cost which is far lesser than producing a film or even building a small unit which can produce certain goods or services, or even a good holiday for an entire football team abroad. So if that is the level at which affordable technologies are being made in India, I'm sure with your participation, with your inputs, they can better be produced and better find markets as well. I recognize that the remittances which come from abroad by Indians who migrated is about $100 billion for the year 2022. One of the highest remittances which is coming. This has gone up 12% between 21 and 22. Within a year, which is post-pandemic, people thought probably Indian workers will not go back abroad again. They have actually gone up, not only gone back, but more have gone, found very useful employment, and that the remittance numbers have gone up by 12% within 1 year. I want to put that before you just so that you recognize the contribution that the Indian diaspora is making to the Indian economy. Actually, India is focusing, I can say with confidence, for the next 25 years, India is focusing on 4 I's. 4 as a number and I's. In fact, I would even say 4 ins, I-Ns. First is infrastructure. We are focusing on that for the next 25 years. We need better infrastructure. Investment, therefore, the second I. Third is innovation. We want more innovation so that we can have in situ solutions for India's problems which have been festering us for several years, several decades. So infrastructure, investment, innovation, and finally inclusion. All this will have to lead to inclusive growth, and that is where we need all the 4 I's, 4 ins, investments, infrastructure, innovation, and inclusion. We try to facilitate visit of people coming in and going out, e-visa. I don't want to elaborate on that. You know whether it is working well or not. But what I would project to you, even as we are trying to harness the potential of entrepreneurial skill of the Indian diaspora, is India is becoming a knowledge hub. There's just no doubt. And I can expand this in several ways. Other than the fact that most globally reputed and coveted awards are being won by Indians. The Nobel Prize, for instance. In the 21st century, we've already had 4 Indians get Nobel Prize. You must have heard of the names of V. Ramakrishnan, V.S. Naipaul, Kailash Satyarthi, and also Abhijit Banerjee. All of them have got Nobel. So with the Fields Medal for Mathematics, Magsaysay Award for Social and Public Work, Booker's Prize for Writing, Pulitzer Prize. So Indians are there getting some of the coveted awards. But if that is just for writing and speaking and so on, and also for science, You also have Indians making every component that is so desirable in one or the other industry. I'll just give you a couple of examples. 14 out of 15 diamonds which are cut and polished anywhere in the world is made and cut and polished in India by Indians. 14 out of 15 diamonds are being cut and polished by Indians. Similarly, for any car that you would buy and use abroad, there's at least one component which is going into it made in India. Any car. You also find that production itself is nowadays coming in India and doing even for the high-end goods. Lockheed Martin is producing the wings for F-16 aircrafts, fighter jets that is, in India. And from here, it exports to all those F-16 assembly points. Similarly, Airbus plans to manufacture C-295 aircrafts in Dholera and Gujarat sooner. They've tied it all up. So that manufacturing is also going to happen here. You also know that very many MROs are happening in India. The maintenance and repair of aircrafts are all going to be centered in India. So the global capacity centers are all being established in India. So that clearly tells you that the knowledge base emanates from India, and that is going to be the way it is for the next at least 25 years. In this most important point that I'd like to present before you, 2,000 chips are annually designed in India. It may be manufactured elsewhere, but they're designed in India by semiconductor companies which are here. And almost 90% of all chip makers have a design footprint in India. So it's not that, low value items, but even the high value items are now being produced in India. Now the semiconductor design engineers, how many do you think are there in the world? Semiconductor engineers who are design engineers. Can you make a rough guess? They are about 6 lakhs or 600,000 to 700,000 design engineers globally. And 1/10 of that is in India. And I like to say, as a member of parliament from Karnataka, that the outer ring road of Bangalore, this might sound like a factoid to you, but I want you to know this. The outer ring road of Bangalore, you will find a concentration of 50,000 to 70,000 design engineers who are in semiconductor designing, all of them present in that outer ring road area of Bangalore alone. So they are semiconductor design engineers who are at the heart of the semiconductor industry. That's all in the area of Bangalore. And many of them are now spreading to other areas as well. Now, India's software engineers are also writing the code that controls everything in the cars that you buy, or if you have a smart home, that you switch the geyser on, or your food is getting warmed, even as you sit in your car and press the button. The codes are all written by Indian engineers. So let's not forget that is reflective in the fact that Mercedes-Benz, which has a R&D center in India, employs 7,500 such engineers, and also 4,000 contractors who are working for the Mercedes-Benz R&D. So essentially, look at the number for one company and also look at one sector which has its engineers present in India. I'm using these data to underline the fact that India is becoming a knowledge hub of the world. I can go on one more point which is very important for electrical vehicles. of the 100 million lines of code that is required for a driverless car, nearly 35% is written by Indians. But does it mean that we are centering everything in India and denying everybody else an opportunity that we can provide? Not at all. I quote the NASSCOM's report, which says, Indian IT industries have registered 396 billion US dollars in sales to date, creating 1.6 million jobs and contributing 198 billion US dollars to the US economy. So you're creating jobs there. Our IT companies are creating jobs there. So if anyone told you that everything is going off to Bengaluru, no, sorry, we are creating jobs in the US as well. Similarly, in 2021, again, this is a NASSCOM report, Indian IT companies in the United States directly hired 207,000 American employees in the American employees with an average wage of 106,000 US dollars and registering a growth of about 22% over what it was in 2017. So if you had this feeling that pandemic came and probably we are not contributing anymore, no, that's not true. It is registered nearly 22% growth post the pandemic compared to what it was in 2017. So we are even contributing post the pandemic in creating jobs abroad, IT industry's contribution. I also want to recognize the fact that Indian IT sector has actually made North Carolina in emerging as a tech hub. It's Indian IT companies which have contributed to that one whole area's state's growth as tech hub. And this is a singular contribution by one sector from one country. So I honestly appeal to the Indian real ambassadors, our diaspora, to speak of these kind of achievements of India as well. So it is the benefits are spread across countries, across the globe, and not just centered in India. I can speak similarly about the contribution of Indian pharmaceutical sector. 69% of all the vaccine requirement of the globe is serviced from India. 69%. It is not just COVID-19. Prior to that and after that, beyond that, vaccines are India's contribution to the world. 69% goes from here. Similarly, made in India medicines in the domestic Indian pharma market is now more than 80% compared to 5% in 1969. So India is emerging as a pharmacy of the world. So when I speak about knowledge hub, these are the areas in which India's expertise is contributing not just to Indian economy, but also to the universe. Similarly, I want to highlight that we have the world's second largest biotech professionals. Second largest biotech professionals exist in India, and they serve the world from here. That is why you find 1,400 World Health Organization recognized pharmaceutical plants in India. 1,400 of them exist here with WHO certification. 253 of them are even European Union certified. So it's not as if we are producing something, we certify ourselves and that's the end of the story. They are recognized by WHO, recognized by European Commission, and all of them do certify. And the one simple measure to understand how India's pharmaceutical sector is growing is outside of the US. If there is any one country which has the maximum number of FDA approved producers of or manufacturers of drugs, it's India. I hope I have conveyed the intensity of this fact. Outside of the US, I'm repeating, outside of the US, FDA approved manufacturing of pharmaceuticals. If there is any one country which has, outside of the US, the biggest number, it is India. Nowhere else you will find it. And therefore, India is becoming a medical tourism hub. 2 million patients visit India just for medical treatment annually. And they come from 78 different countries. It's not as if just one country, which is a neighbor, sends 78 different countries they come from. So without, of course, adding more, the point is India is certainly the rich ground for knowledge-based activities. Whether it is IT, it is pharmaceutical, it is engineering, it is aircraft, aerospace, or it is medical treatments, India is becoming the knowledge hub of the world. So the next 25 years, what are the strengths which we are going to play upon? We are going to play upon 3 things. One, the digital capabilities and the achievements which we have done by scaling up things, scaling up to such extent that very many countries are surprised that India can prove that it can scale up digital capabilities, be it in education, be it in health, CoWIN app, or even payments, or in the financial technology areas. So you'll be playing on the digital. We'll certainly be playing up on the demographic, because India is going to have nearly 68% of all its population in the working productive age group by 2030. So if all of them are going to contribute to the engine of growth for India, India certainly can be the engine of growth for the rest of the world as well. So we are going to make that difference in the revival of the global economy, and no wonder we are the fastest growing economy today, this year, as well the next year. And I see that probably being a very powerful engine for the global growth. On the climate concerns that you have, I just want to put in one word as to how India is committed. India has 17% of the world's population. Just please seize the number that I'm telling you. The numbers that I'm telling you, please seize them. 17% of the world's population lives in India. But we have only 5% of the global emissions from India. Only 5% of the global emission is emanating from India, which has 17% of the global population living here. But what about our commitment to climate action? 100%. We've already fulfilled what was committed in Paris, and towards fulfilling what has been committed in Scotland by Honorable Prime Minister, we are scaling up on renewable energy, be it solar, be it wind, be it also nuclear and hydroelectric. So we are well on course in achieving the nationally determined commitments. One last word on the diaspora and its strength. You know, the world has been talking about China +1. So can that +1 be India? Now I'm hearing EU +1 as well. So people who are invested in China may want to continue there, but may also want to find another source from where they can produce and be a part of the global value chain. So India is that, and we would like to pit India as that +1 country when it comes to considerations of those manufacturers who want to get out of China or have one more place from where they can produce. So China +1, we are actively making sure India becomes that successful +1. But European Union as well, if they were going to go through a recession, which is a probability, which many people are now saying highly probable, So there is this temptation for many of the manufacturers who are located in Europe also to look at +1. China +1 is ongoing. European Union +1. And that +1, again, can India fit in that role? Is the effort of the government of India to make sure that we are able to attract industries which are looking for also setting up elsewhere other than being in Europe. So if all this is happening with the presence of Indians everywhere, 58 globally leading companies have Indians heading the positions. They are corporations from 11 different countries whose revenue earnings cross $1 trillion and who actually have a market capitalization of $4 trillion. If 58 of them can have Indians, I'm sure many more of them can have Indians as well. But even more importantly, if this is where India is looking for talent pool and also contributing to the global talent pool, it will also be for India to serve, being from India, but for the rest of the world as well. I've spoken about the digital thing already. We've achieved a lot. We would certainly like to have that available for the entire globe. In just one number, which will tell you the scale to which we have achieved, the UPI, the total transactions in UPI in 2022 was 125 lakh crores within 1 year. And how many transactions did it involve? 7,400 transactions took place, amounting to 125 lakh crores of Indian rupees. So that is the extent to which the digital payment portals have succeeded. So in conclusion, I just want to tell you that because of India's efforts, Honorable Prime Minister's effort to highlight the fact that for a healthy living, you need to have very many things which were inclusive of yoga being taken to the global scale. The year of millets, which is what is going to be this year, 2023, is also because India wants to highlight that if you found a quinoa from Latin America, there have been traditional cross grains in India, ragi, jawar, bajra, and so on, which are also very good for healthy living. So we are promoting that. This year, we shall also have the presidency of the G20, in which we've given a call that for very many consideration, whether it is harmony, whether it is climate action, India believes that it is one earth, one family, and therefore one future for all of which all of us will have to be committed. So the spirit is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and I appeal to all of you, the Indian diaspora, the brothers and sisters who are representing India, carrying India's brand all over the world, and show
the men and women who built Indian industry.